Forget everything you think you know about fathers and sons. The myth of Cronus goes far beyond what you learn in books or rehashed ancient stories. Prepare to discover a truth as disturbing as it is fascinating. The very god who was a symbol of justice once carried out an act so shocking, so absurd, that it defies our logic and upends even our deepest beliefs about family, power, and destiny. After all, how can time, personified by Cronus, be both the creator and the devourer of its own heirs? What led a father to commit one of mythology's greatest taboos? Click to uncover the dark secret and understand why this myth still inspires fear, astonishment, and uncomfortable lessons to this day. Cronus, also called Kronos, was born in a time when everything was grand and unsettling. At the heart of the universe, Gaia, Earth, and Uranus, sky, united, but they created shadows along with their children. Cronus grew up alongside powerful siblings, 6 Titans, 6 Titanides, and even feared creatures like the Hecatonchires and Cyclopes. It wasn't exactly an ordinary family. There was always an air of mystery and fear running rampant through the world's corridors. Uranus, fearing his own children, decided to lock the most monstrous ones away in the depths of Tartarus, making the home an invisible prison. This cruel act by Uranus quickly aroused the fury of the wise Gaia, who saw her offspring trapped and oppressed. Cronus, still young, demonstrated something special, a sharp blend of intelligence and strength, which made him stand out among his brothers. Walking through the world with the feeling of someone carrying the weight of the inevitable, he silently observed each decision of his elders. Gaia, recognizing Cronus's talent for looking beyond the obvious, saw in him a chance to reverse fate. It was as if the young Titan carried in his eyes the gleam of someone who knows he can change everything, even if the path is arduous. In this universe where time was devoured before it even showed itself, family tensions set the tone for the days. Gaia began to whisper ideas of freedom and rebellion in Cronus's ear, showing that routine could finally be broken. The Titan's destiny seemed guided by a greater force, as if naturally leading him to an inevitable confrontation. The family cycle, filled with oppression and hope, set the stage for decisive moments, and Cronus, prepared or not, already felt the call to defy everything imposed on him, ready to write a new chapter in his saga. Cronus's initial great feat was the overthrow of Uranus, an act that forever changed the course of mythology. Following Gaia's daring plan, he hid to surprise his father during the night and, with a sickle crafted by his mother, committed a violent act by mutilating him. From this bloody deed were born vengeful and powerful beings, the Erinyes, the giants, and the Meliad nymphs. By assuming command of the universe, Cronus seemed, for a brief moment, to be the liberator promised by his brothers. This transformation, however, did not bring peace to the family, but rather a new era of distrust. Cronus freed some of his brothers from Tartarus, but soon began to behave in a manner similar to his own father. A constant fear of betrayal instilled in him, leading him to make harsh decisions to secure his power. He married his sister Rhea, strengthening the bond between the Titans. From this marriage, important gods of the Greek pantheon were born: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. However, the prophecy that he would be dethroned by one of his own children instilled in Cronus an uncontrollable fear. The solution he found was extreme. He devoured each child as soon as it was born, in an attempt to prevent the predicted future. This cruel act perpetuated the same cycle of oppression that had marked his own childhood. The fear of losing the throne transformed Cronus into a paranoid and authoritarian figure, unable to trust even his own family. His reign was marked not only by grandiose deeds, but also by profound internal challenges. Thus, Cronus's story reveals a trajectory filled with power, fear, and the consequences of repeating past mistakes. Cronus forged remarkable alliances alongside his Titan brothers, joining forces to overthrow the oppressive Uranus. This family pact was crucial to cementing the rebellion and seizing control of the cosmos. After his ascension, he instituted the so-called Golden Age, a period remembered for its abundance, peace, and justice among mortals. In many accounts, this period is seen as the height of harmonious coexistence between gods and humanity. Despite strained family ties, Cronus initially played a leadership role that was recognized as beneficial. In the romantic realm, Cronus's main relationship was with his sister Rhea. This union not only sealed the power among the Titans, but also produced the gods who would later inhabit Olympus. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus were born from this union, becoming central figures in Greek mythology. The marriage, however, was marked by Cronus's anguish and fear regarding his own fate. The couple's life together was profoundly impacted by prophecies and the difficult choices imposed by power. Among his most notable rivalries is his conflict with Uranus, his own father, whose absolute rule needed to be broken. Later, Cronus became a direct adversary of his son Zeus, fearing that the prophecy of his downfall would come true. This fear triggered a series of dramatic events, pitting father and son against each other in a great battle. Over time, Cronus also faced opposition from other Olympian gods, who led the revolt against his reign. These clashes profoundly shaped the course of mythology and divine relations. Cronus's trajectory is marked by profound transformations in his personality and destiny. Initially, he emerges as the liberator of the Titans, fearless in confronting the tyranny of Uranus. However, as time passes, Cronus repeats the cycle of violence and fear, becoming an oppressive monarch himself. In trying to escape his prophesied fate, he ends up turning against his children, acting in a similar way to the father he fought so hard against. Thus, from a savior, Cronus becomes the target of the same kind of betrayal he perpetrated. The turning point comes when Rhea, tired of the pain of losing her children, decides to trick him into saving Zeus. By delivering a wrapped stone in place of the child, Rhea allows Zeus to grow up in secret, away from his father's watchful eye. As an adult, Zeus defies Cronus and begins a violent war that would become legendary, the War of the Titans. In this battle, fiercely fought for 10 years, Zeus relies on the decisive assistance of the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, freed from Tartarus. The confrontation marks the end of the Age of the Titans and the emergence of Olympian rule. After his defeat, Cronus undergoes his final and most significant transformation. Along with most of the Titans, he is imprisoned in Tartarus, thus sealing the end of his reign. However, some late Greek traditions and Orphic accounts suggest a milder fate for Cronus. In these narratives, he is portrayed as a repentant god, taken to rule the Elysian fields, the paradise of the righteous. Thus, his journey illustrates the fluctuations of power and the inevitable consequences of life's choices. The fall of Cronus marked the end of the Age of the Titans and the beginning of the rule of the Olympian gods, ushering in a new phase in Greek mythology. His violent and paranoid acts are often remembered as warnings of the dangers of absolute power and the refusal to accept one's destiny. The cycle of fear and distrust established by Cronus served as a lesson for subsequent generations of gods. His defeat also symbolizes renewal, in which an ancient order gives way to the emergence of new leaders. This transition illustrates the constant transformation present in myths. Despite its tyrannical end, many myths describe the Golden Age under Cronus's rule as a time of prosperity, abundance, and justice for mortals. During this period, there were no wars or suffering, and humanity lived in harmony with nature and the gods. This positive memory contrasts with his later image as a despot, demonstrating the complexities of his legacy. The Golden Age is revived in celebrations and rituals that evoke this god's idealized past. Thus, Cronus is seen ambiguously, both as an oppressor and as a symbol of better times. Over the centuries, Cronus also became the archetype of destructive time, which inevitably consumes all things. His name gave rise to the word chronology, and his figure is traditionally depicted devouring his own children, a metaphor for the relentless passage of time. In the Roman context, he was associated with the god Saturn and honored in the Saturnalia festival, marked by the reversal of social roles and temporary freedom. Cronus's legacy thus permeates culture, mythology, and even language, demonstrating how his deeds echo through the centuries. So, what did you think of this surprising chapter in the Cronus saga? The story is just starting to heat up. The upcoming events promise even more shocking twists in this true mythological epic. Now tell me, were you already aware of Cronus's dark side, or were you surprised by what you discovered here? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your interpretation of this story. If you want to stay up to date and never miss a single twist, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you'll stay up to date on all the secrets, lessons, and curiosities of the mythological world. See you in the next chapter.